What's up, my StatStars? Let's talk about a problem that typically comes up dealing with a one sample Z interval for a population proportion that a lot of kids kind of mess up or think incorrectly in their head. So here's a quick problem. Principal Klein is growing more and more concerned about the students at his school that are overwhelmed with anxiety. So he wishes to estimate the proportion of all students at his large high school that experience anxiety daily. He selects a random sample of 125 students from his school, and he got a sample proportion of 32% that said they experience anxiety on a daily basis. Now, if we follow all the steps to construct a confidence interval, a 98% confidence interval for the proportion of students at his school that experience anxiety, we would end up getting something like this. 0.223, 0.417. All right, so the interpretation of that interval means that Principal Klein is 98% confident that the true proportion of kids at his school that experience anxiety on a daily basis is somewhere between roughly 22.3% and 41.7%. All right, finding that interval for most kids is actually quite easy. But here's the question that a lot of kids might mess up. Principal Klein read that 40% of kids nationwide experience anxiety on a daily basis. Does he have evidence that the proportion of kids at his school is less than 40%? Now, a lot of kids will say, well, 40% in his interval, so yeah, he does have evidence. But no, you're reading the question wrong. 40% of kids nationwide have anxiety. Some website says that. Now, the question is, does his sample give him evidence that his school is less than 40%? The answer is no. His interval was 22.3% to 41.7%. So yes, the large majority of his interval is below 40%, but there is a portion of his interval above 40%. And remember, any value in the interval could be true. No one value in the interval is more likely than any other value in the interval. Just because the section below 40% is wider than the section above 40% doesn't mean anything. The point is at his school, the true proportion could possibly be 40% or even higher. So unfortunately, he does not have evidence to officially say his school has a lower proportion because it's just, well, not true. Well, hold on a minute. Let me back up there. It could be true that at his school it's less than 40% because again, for example, 38% is in his interval, but we don't know that. We're confident that any number in the interval could be the truth. So yes, the truth might be that less than 40% of kids at his school have daily anxiety, but we can't say that officially because it could also be more than 40%. So that's the rub. That's the idea. Is any number in that interval is possible? So, well, 40% in the interval, more than 40% in the interval, so we can't officially say that his school is lower. At the end of the day, we do not know what the true proportion is. It could be lower, it could be higher, it could even be exactly 40%. So we got to be very careful in answering the question. Is there evidence that his school is definitely less? And the answer would be no.